Χιλιάδες χρόνια τώρα, οι άνθρωποι επινοούν και υφίστανται κάθε είδους πειθαρχίες και στερήσεις, με την ελπίδα να φτάσουν στη διαφώτιση. Μια εβδομάδα κατασκήνωσης στο Hampshire δύσκολα παραλληλίζεται με τις μεγάλες θυσίες που συναντιούνται στην ιστορία όλων σχεδόν των θρησκειών. Η ατμόσφαιρα εδώ στο Brookwood Park θυμίζει διεθνή κατασκήνωση. Οι μόνες τελετουργίες και τα τυπικά που πραγματοποιούνται είναι αυτά που καθένας επιβάλλει στον εαυτό του. Ο άνθρωπος που ήρθαν να ακούσουν πάνω από 3.000 άτομα έχει αποδιώξει όλη την πανοπλία και τα δόγματα που επιβάλλει η οργανωμένη θρησκεία. Έχει αποδιώξει ακόμα και το ρόλο του Μεσσία για τον οποίο προϊονίζονταν, ο Jiddu Krishnamurti.
I've come to hear Krishnamurti.
You're first in the queue. How long have you been waiting for?
Since about 10:15 last night.
Why was it important to get there quite that early?
To be close.
He invites one to have a conversation with him. He's always saying, can we discuss together this, that, and the other? And this is an invitation to really to participate. And that you can't do if you're a quarter of a mile down the tent.
He's very profound, and I think if you can listen to him, something in your brain might start happening.
It probably shouldn't be necessary to come every year. Once you've heard it, you've heard it. But, you know, it's like looking at a mountain or a tree, you know, it's good to come.
Τώρα, στα 91 του χρόνια, ο Krishnamurti αναφέρεται σαν ένας από τους μεγαλύτερους φιλοσόφους και διδασκάλους όλων των εποχών. Κάτι που δύσκολα μπορούσε να προβλέψει πριν 51 χρόνια, όταν ξαφνιάζοντας τους πιστούς του οπαδούς, ανακοίνωσε πως δεν ήταν ο Μεσσίας και διέλυσε την οργάνωση της οποίας ήταν επικεφαλής. Ο Krishnamurti ποτέ δεν λέει για τον εαυτό του εγώ, λέει ο Κάπα ή ο ομιλητής. Ποιος είναι λοιπόν ο ρόλος του ανθρώπου που έχουν έρθει να ακούσουν?
What is the role of a flower? It just exists. And those who like to go and look at it, smell it, and like it, say what a beautiful flower it is, it exists.
Ο Krishnamurti έχει ένα ήρεμο και συμβατικό παρουσιαστικό, χωρίς καθόλου επισημότητα και στόμφο. Κάθεται στιτό σε μια όρθια σκληρή καρέκλα και μιλάει χωρίς σημειώσεις και προετοιμασία τουλάχιστον μια ώρα. Βλέποντας τη λιγνή και απέρριτη μορφή του, δύσκολα πιστεύει κανείς στην καταπληκτική του ιστορία. Γεννήθηκε το 1895, 8ο παιδί μιας οικογένειας βραχμάνων της υψηλότερης κάστας, σε μια εποχή που το σύστημα ίσχυε αυστηρά. Ένιωθε πολύ κοντά στη μητέρα του, η οποία πριν τον γεννήσει είχε πει ότι είχε μια προαίσθηση πως αυτό το παιδί θα γινόταν κατά κάποιο τρόπο σπουδαίο. Εκείνη πέθανε όταν ο Krishnamurti ήταν 10 χρονών και η οικογένεια μετακόμισε στο Άντια, κοντά στο Μαντράς. Εδώ τον εντόπισε πάμπτωχο ο Charles Webster Leadbeater, ηγετικός τέλεχος της θεοσοφικής εταιρείας. Η θεοσοφία ήταν ένα παγκόσμιο κίνημα που αγκάλιαζε όλες τις θρησκείες. Πίστευαν ότι μετά το Βούδα, τον Κρίσνα και τον Ιησού, ο κόσμος ήταν έτοιμος για την επόμενη ενσάρκωση του Μεσσία. Η πρόεδρος της εταιρείας, Annie Besant, ήταν μια ενθουσιώδης μορφή που αγωνίστηκε ανιδιοτελώς για διάφορες κοινωνικές μεταρρυθμίσεις στη Βρετανία και την Ινδία. Ο Krishnamurti, υποσιτισμένος, με στραβά δόντια και χαμένο βλέμμα, δεν πρέπει να έμοιαζε με ιδανικό υποψήφιο, αλλά ο Leadbeater είπε πως το παιδί είχε ένα φωτοστέφανο αλτρουισμού, ήταν ο εκλεκτός. Η κυρία Besant τον υιοθέτησε και άρχισε να τον προετοιμάζει για το μελλοντικό του ρόλο, φέρνοντάς τον στην Αγγλία. Από τους πρώτους ανθρώπους που γνώρισε ήταν η Lady Emily Lutyens, σύζυγος του αρχιτέκτονα Sir Edwin. Πιστή θεοσοφίστρια, τον πήρε στην οικογένειά της. Η κόρη της Mary, 77 ετών σήμερα, είναι η παλιότερη φίλη του Krishnamurti και βιογράφος του. Θυμάται την εποχή που ο Krishnamurti και ο μικρότερος αδελφός του, ο Νίτια, έφτασαν στο Λονδίνο.
And took enormous pity on them. They were wearing European clothes for the first time. They were in Norfolk jackets and shoes which pinched them. They looked miserable, shivering with cold. And she mothered them.
How did you feel about him?
I didn't think he had a brain, that he was very simple very simple-minded. It's absolutely staggering to me, looking at him back in that, what he can do now, what's come out of him now. I just can't believe it sometimes. And you wouldn't really think that, because every single thing he says, it may look like it may appear to be like Buddhism, it may appear to be like this, that, or the other, it may be a certain bit of the Sermon on the Mount, I don't know. But he wouldn't know it, he's never read it. So everything has come, he's discovered for himself. And what amazes me is what he's found in himself from that very vacant, certainly very unintelligent young man.
Ο Krishnamurti και ο Νίτια παρουσιάστηκαν σε ένα πλούσιο και αριστοκρατικό εδουαρδιανό Λονδίνο. Από τα δύο αδέρφια, ο Νίτια θεωρούνταν ο πιο εύστροφος. Ο θάνατός του μερικά χρόνια αργότερα επηρέασε βαθιά τον Krishnamurti. Στα αμέσως επόμενα χρόνια, οι δύο αδελφοί ταξίδεψαν σε όλη την Ευρώπη, την Αμερική και την Αυστραλία. Παντού οι θεοσοφιστές περίμεναν ανυπόμονα τη μέρα που ο Krishnamurti θα αναλάμβανε το ρόλο για τον οποίο προοριζόταν. Ο Krishnamurti γοητευόταν από κάθε τι το μηχανικό. Εκείνος έμαθε τη Mary Lutyens να οδηγάει. Η σχέση άνθιζε. Ήταν ερωτευμένη μαζί του.
I've been in love with Nitya tremendously. It was the love of my life. And then I suppose I fell in love with Krishna after Nitya's death. He wrote wonderful letters. And unfortunately, I destroyed all his letters to me.
Was there a point at which he ever really believed that he was going to be the new Messiah?
Yes, definitely. He did believe. And there was a wonderful occasion when we'd all been in Sydney under Mr. Leadbeater, and we came back for the Jubilee Convention at Adyar. That was I suppose its 50th year, 1925. And it was rather expected that the Lord would speak through him for the first time. And I was there, and he was speaking at 8 o'clock under the banyan tree. This wonderful place. And he was talking about that when he comes, this sort of, which he used to talk about in those days, when he comes. And he suddenly changed to saying, when I come, I will do this. And it was an absolutely thrilling moment.
Ο Krishnamurti ευγνωμονούσε όλους όσους του είχαν τέτοια πίστη και εμπιστοσύνη. Προσπαθούσε να τους ικανοποιεί, πήγαινε σε τεράστιες θεοσοφικές συγκεντρώσεις και ανεχόταν το μαρτύριο να σηκώνεται και να μιλάει δημόσια. Σίγουρα οι θεοσοφιστές τον επηρέασαν, αλλά προφανώς μόνο επιφανειακά. Όλο τον καιρό ετοίμαζε τη δική του φιλοσοφία, τη δική του άποψη, πώς να φτάσει στην αλήθεια. Η ορολογιακή βόμβα είχε αρχίσει το μέτρημα. Το 1929, σε μια μεγάλη συγκέντρωση θεοσοφιστών στο Όμεν της Ολλανδίας, έγινε η έκρηξη.
He spoke up and he said, I'm now going to dissolve the order which I happen to be head. You can go and join another order if you want to. I don't want followers. I don't want followers. If there's one person who understands, it can do more good than all these 3,000 people here. And it was a big and very rich organization. And he gave it all completely away, and all the land and all the property and the castle that had been given, he gave it all back to the owner. And he divested himself of all property. And one of the things, a very lovely speech he gave on that occasion, was to say, truth is a pathless land. You cannot get to it by any path whatever.
Σε εκείνο το λόγο του που έγινε ο διασημότερος, ο Krishnamurti είπε «Δεν είναι τίποτε το σπουδαίο γιατί δεν θέλω οπαδούς και μιλάω σοβαρά. Μόλις αρχίσεις να ακολουθείς κάποιον, πάβεις να ακολουθείς την αλήθεια. Μόνο ένα ουσιώδες πράγμα με απασχολεί. Να απελευθερώσω τον άνθρωπο από όλα τα κλουβιά, από όλους τους φόβους. Όχι να ιδρύσω θρησκείες, νέα δόγματα, νέες θεωρίες, νέες φιλοσοφίες». Η ομιλία συγκλώνησε τόσο πολύ τους οπαδούς του, που πολλοί αποστράφηκαν τον άνθρωπο από τον οποίο περίμεναν τόσα πολλά. Άλλοι υιοθέτησαν διαφορετική άποψη. Σήμερα, ένας από τους πρώτους εκείνους πιστούς ταξιδεύει κάθε χρόνο από τη Νέα Ζηλανδία για να τον ακούσει. Ο Basil Gossage.
To some it was a very traumatic experience. the end of the world. In my own case, I thought, well, if Kay has got the, pardon the phrase, the spiritual guts to do that, to say, I'm disbanding the order, it's not necessary, truth is a pathless land, I thought, well, he'll do me. At least he's 100% honest. That's been borne out over 55 years.
Ο Krishnamurti έχει αναπτύξει και έχει διαδώσει τη διδασκαλία του, αλλά ακόμη απορρίπτει κάθε οργανωμένη θρησκεία.
We're now trying to impose morality on people, right?
Many religions have tried.
They've failed. Why?
You tell me, why?
Because they're based on some belief which has no value at all, on some dogma, right? Faith, and do this, don't do that. That's what religions have done.
They would say there are all different ways, different paths.
That's all Guru gave, that, different paths. Because I'm a Hindu, and I say, it's my path. You are a Christian, I say, that's your path. It's nonsense. Path to what? They say, to God, to truth. As though fixed. God and truth are stationary.
Aren't they?
Of course, I mean, living thing can't be stationary. I appeal to you.
Οι άνθρωποι που έρχονται στις συγκεντρώσεις είναι ένα ετερόκλητο πλήθος από κάθε επικότητα, πλούσιοι και φτωχοί. Κανείς δεν τους μετράει ποτέ και μολονότι γίνεται κάποιος έρανος, δεν υπάρχει εισιτήριο. Αν έχουν κάτι κοινό μεταξύ τους, αυτό είναι μάλλον διανοουμενίστικη παρά πνευματική προσέγγιση της ζωής. Αν και ο Κρισναμούρτη διδάσκει πως η πάρα πολλή σκέψη είναι ένα από τα μεγαλύτερα προβλήματα του ανθρώπου.
Partly. And partly also, they want somebody to tell them what to do.
They must be very disappointed when you don't.
Yes. Not disappointed. They say, what the devil is he talking about? Or say, I must understand what he's talking about. You are not understanding somebody. You're understanding yourself.
I feel I understand intellectually, but actually in my life I think it's rather limited. You know, I mean, the actual, it hasn't changed me completely. That's what I mean. When I hear him, I think I understand completely what he's saying in terms of the words he uses and so on. But it doesn't have its corresponding effect in my life.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think the self seems to be so strong and one resists it so completely.
He really is nobody. And if we could understand that completely, that might change our lives. But we don't.
What do you get out of coming in? What do you take away from a week here?
That's the whole problem. We all want to have something. That's the goddamn problem. It's understandable though, but that's our problem. We're so greedy, we want it. And maybe that works too. If you really want it, you might get it.
It being what?
If you don't really want it, you won't get it.
It being what?
I don't know what you want. It's what you want.
It depends how you listen. He's very repetitious if you just listen, if you don't really listen, and you're just aware of the words and the superficial meaning. Whereas if you really listen, you can say that the bird singing in the garden's repetitious, the blackbird sings the same week after week. But if you really listen, it's always new. And the same thing with Krishnamurti. If you really listen, it's new.
There's an art of listening. When you listen to Beethoven or Mozart and so on, you listen. You don't try to interpret it, unless you're romantic, sentimental and all that. You absorb, you listen. There's some extraordinary movement going on in it. Great silence, great depth to all that. So similarly, if you can listen not only with the hearing of the ear, but deeply. Not interpret, not translate, just listen.
So when they all leave the tent and they say what he really meant was...
Yeah, then you are lost.
I remember when I listened to him for the first time, it was nearly impossible because I couldn't accept what he was saying.
Why?
Because it's very strong. He throws you back to all your things you can't accept. You see, you are greedy, you are jealous, you are all that, and you know you are. And when he throws you back at this, you say, no, I don't like to see that. Now, after some years, I got very used to, well, to look at this because I wanted to, because I saw it got really very much easier to accept it than running away from it, because if I run away from it, I got always more fear and fear and fear because the thoughts go round and round. So now I would say, I don't know if I understand him, but I understand myself a little bit better.
Our brain is very limited. Our brain is so heavily conditioned by the scientists, by propagandists, by religion, by all the historical events, whether it's Lenin or somebody else. Our brains are conditioned. And we live in that condition. Right? And that condition is creating havoc in the world.
Is there a way out of that condition?
Yes, there is. That requires a great deal of inquiry. You could not just say, well, tell me in 2 words.
People have tried to say in 2 words things like love one another, turn the other cheek. There are no easy solutions? There is no easy...
Of course not. But you see, is there an easy solution for a blade of grass that grows in the cement? There's a path there. And you see grass pushing, pushing, pushing. It broke. If it has life, it goes through. Right? Blade of grass. As our brains are terribly limited, our life is limited. Right? And can that brain, which has evolved through millennia, can that brain radically change?
Do you think that he is very insulated and protected by this lifestyle, that he doesn't really understand the problems that most people face?
I think he does, but I think he feels that they make problems where there needn't be problems, by not actually seeing what their problems are. And I think people do make problems that aren't necessarily there. And I don't see that it makes him any... I mean, they expect him to dress in, perhaps some people, in sackcloth and ashes and grow his hair and his beard. But does that really make you a more religious person?
Is it possible that someone could come here to one of the talks, hear what you say, hear in himself or herself the truth, and then go away and live in this quick result, quick society? Yeah, can the two coexist?
Of course. This has been one of the questions that has been troubling people. Can I live in this monstrous society, immoral, corrupt, and all the rest of it, with complete honesty for myself? Of course you can. So you have to ask, what is society, right? Is society different from me? Or I am society? I don't know if you follow this. I am society. I've created the awful thing. I'm part of it. Society is not different from me. Right? So I don't reform the outer circle. Social reform, you know, all the political game that's going on. First I put my house in order. My house, deeply my house in order. And then there'll be order out there. If you and I and all of us who are listening put our house first in order, We have created a new society. Very higher up.
Ο Κρισναμούρτη πιστεύει ότι αυτό το μήνυμα μπορεί να αλλάξει τον κόσμο μας ριζικά. Αν έστω και λίγες χιλιάδες ακούσουν και καταλάβουν. Στην κατασκήνωση πρέπει να γίνεται διάλογος, αλλά σπάνια συμμετέχει το ακροατήριο. Κάθονται εξίσου άκαμπτοι με τον ομιλητή. Παλεύουν να καταλάβουν τα όσα ενιγματικά λέει. Λίγοι ξέρουν τον Κρισναμούρτη στην ιδιωτική του ζωή. Πόσο αγαπάει τα ωραία ρούχα, τα κεράσματα.
How elegant he looks then.
What does he like to do when he comes to London?
He goes to his tailor and he comes up, say, for the dentist, and we always have lunch at Fortnum & Mason's in a very quiet place at the top, the 4th floor, and get his hair cut. Otherwise he hates London.
A lot of people would be horrified to think that someone that is preaching self-effacement, self-discovery, actually enjoys all those material and worldly things.
He doesn't tell you to give up happiness or to give up joy. I mean, if you enjoy doing something, then you say, do it.
Ο Κρισναμούρτη κάνει μια ζωή χωρίς οικονομικά προβλήματα. Σαν τη βασίλισσα έχει απομακρυνθεί από τα χρήματα. Ούτε έχει ούτε χειρίζεται λεφτά. Τα προσωπικά του έξοδα καλύπτονται από φίλους και η οργάνωση των βιβλίων και των διαλέξεων γίνεται από το μη κερδοσκοπικό ίδρυμα Krishnamurti. Η διάλεξη γίνεται στη σχολή Krishnamurti. Εδώ ο Krishnamurti το παίζει οικοδεσπότης.
Go crazy on that. As one goes crazy about yoga and all the rest of it. Laughter is part of seriousness. Right? If you don't know how to laugh and look at the sun, the trees, the dapple light and everything, well, you're not quite human being. If you're merely churchy serious, on Sunday only, then it's not serious. I mean, laughter, smile, that sense of humor, enjoying good jokes, not vulgar, really good jokes.
Τα αστεία που κάνει ο Κρισναμούρτη δημοσία είναι μάλλον σπάνια. Αλλά και αυτά μαζί με όλα όσα λέει καταγράφονται για πάντα σε βίντεο. Η σύγχρονη τεχνολογία δίνει στον Κρισναμούρτη ένα πλεονέκτημα άγνωστο στους παλιούς γκουρού, φιλοσόφους και μεσσίες. Κάθε συνέντευξη που δίνει, κάθε ομιλία που κάνει, μαγνητοσκοπείται και μένει αμοντάριστη. Αμέσως μετά την πρωινή του ομιλία στο Brockwood, ο κόσμος μπορεί να αγοράσει μια κασέτα με 23 λίρες. Έτσι, ακόμα και μετά το θάνατό του, δεν θα χρειαστούν ερμηνευτές.
What impact do you think having the videos will have in the future?
On this, maybe we can avoid that it's going to be spoiled, the original thought. Like we talked about a little while ago, maybe the whole Christianity would have been different if there would have been video in the time of Jesus Christ.
What do you think will happen when he dies?
I don't know. There'll be interpreters, there'll be people who want to build organizations. But the beauty of it is we have these videotapes, you see. They used to mistranslate the Bible, didn't they? Say he said this, he said that. But the videotapes can't lie. They're there for posterity. It'll go on with the individual. Must do.
How long are you going to carry on doing it for?
I've been asking people around, friends of mine, say, look, the moment I'm gaga, stop me. I don't know. I've got plenty of energy. Because you don't carry all the burden of the past, which is very nice.